They must have been like in their office chilling, or I don't know, I guess they'll be guarding the door, right? Then afterwards, someone will be like, cold satay. Everyone's just like, we're gonna go grab all the cars, we have to chase him. Hi everyone, and welcome to our first episode of Makan with YMAX. Today we have Didi, our representative from hash.peace, who will be talking with us about his advocacy work.
So hi everyone, I'm Didi. I'm the executive committee member of hash.peace. I've been in the group for about 2 years, and usually we talk about a range of things related to social harmony, about interfaith, race-religious harmony, and anything that we think is relevant to Singapore's social fabric.
So how did the name hash.peace come about, and how did the movement start?
Okay, so there's a bit of a funny story behind the name.
Right.
Fahima was the one that came up with it. She basically was very focused on peace building. So before she started hash.peace, she was very much involved in religious conflict and sort of security issues back in early 2000s, where Singapore had the issue of trans-terrorism, where you hear things like Maslamat, Jumayah Islamiyah, all these were like very scary names. When she was a youth leader herself, she was involved in those conversations, and she even had the wonderful opportunity to meet Prince Harry. And they had a conversation about the current situation happening in the world, and the word peace kept coming up.
Right.
Peace building, peacemaking, very familiar terms to model UNers. So she knew that she wanted to include peace in the name somewhere, but she can't just call it peace. So she was like, okay, I'm having a lot of conversations, discussing a lot, hashing things out, and then the spark sort of hit her. Hash-peace? Hashing peace? So she just put it together and she made it into a hashtag, and people responded to it. And she thought, hey, this is working, why not I just keep using it? So that's actually how the name came about. It was just by trial and error, and it just came to her mind one day, and she just ran with it.
I see. So she used like a little trial name and then it stuck. So she was like, oh, just go with it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As for how hash.peace became a thing, so it was really a solo movement by Fahima first, and she started to focus more on Singapore's local context. She found out about the interfaith scene. As a Muslim youth herself, she started having conversations with fellow Muslim individuals, and then she went into the interfaith conversation, met people from other religions, and she was very curious about how other faiths kind of practice what they believe in, and more importantly, how the different religions kind of tackle the problem of radicalism. That's how she got involved in that area. Then naturally, it sort of lent itself into racial harmony, because in Singapore, you can't divorce
race and religion are pretty interweaved, right?
So from there, she knew, okay, all of these topics are very connected, and this was before the term intersectionality was popularized. So she was already doing that work before everyone focused on it. So she sort of came up with the umbrella term social harmony. She saw it somewhere, she can't exactly remember where, but she focused her efforts towards social harmony. Her personal focus is on radicalism, but the other members in hash.peace, we have our own sort of specialization or calling to it. Over the years, we got people coming to our movement, joining in, and even if they might not be official members, they are our valued partners, and they will attend our events, and they're basically part of the whole community, and there's a larger group beyond hash.peace itself.
Right, so hash.peace usually does stuff that regarding catalyzing conversations and developing programs that contribute towards sustainable social harmony. So most of the issues that they tackle include racial and religious prejudice, microaggressions, exclusivist mindsets, and negative stereotypings that are harmful towards peace and unity. So what are some of the major events or like programs that you guys have come up with?
Okay, so before I answer that, just for context, we just registered as a society with the Registry of Societies last June. So we're officially a group just starting from last June, but before that we were sort of an informal group of friends who were concerned about certain things that were happening in Singapore, and we thought that we would have conversations around it. And when we wanted to actually take action and do more concrete things, that's where we decided, hey, why not let's be a formal group so that we can formalize our events and initiatives, and we can get the recognition and support from the civil society as well as the government. So going back to the question, some events and initiatives that we do, the main one that we started is this annual signature program, the hash.peace Conversation Series, and it happens every July, mainly because that's Racial Harmony Day. So we do a month-long series of events that have conversations around certain topics, and last year I initiated a series called Living with Racism, where we would acknowledge that there's still racism happening in Singapore and we would have a conversation around it. We invite people of all races and all backgrounds to come in and kind of share their experiences about it. Other than that, we also do partnerships with other civil society groups like the Center for Interfaith Understanding, partners at onepeople.sg and others, where we not only focus on conversations but try to think of sustainable programs that we can sort of initiate that are both youth-led but also cover various groups in society as well.
Right, so if you are looking at sustainable plans and solutions, how about social harmony in general? Like, what do you think sustainability sort of entails? Do you think that we are on a sustainable path towards social harmony, or do we still have a long way to go? Like, are we very bad at it, you know?
Okay, so that's actually the main ethos of hash.peace, where we are driven by the need for sustainable social harmony in Singapore. So before we came together, before we became a group and whatnot, we noticed that the racial religious harmony scene in Singapore, there was a lot of conversations already happening, granted to groups like OPSG and the other youth groups and youth volunteers, and social media was rife with conversations about Chinese privilege, racism, checking your bias and stuff like that. But what we noticed is sometimes the conversations can be quite polarizing. So take, for example, the conversation on Chinese privilege. I think the audience would definitely be aware that conversations around Chinese privilege last year was very, very polarizing, to the point that they attacked Chinese people just because you are Chinese, which we feel is not productive.
I mean, it's just kind of like, that just counters whatever you were trying to promote in the first place.
Exactly. Right. And you end up actually promoting a certain racial bias in turn, right? You have a certain preconceived notion about this privileged Chinese person, even though if you look at the Chinese community, they are very diverse. They come from very many walks of life. And if you look at their history, there are many things that the Chinese community have had to give up or to sacrifice on in order for Singapore's racial harmony in general. So every single race in Singapore has done their part towards racial harmony. But of course, the conversation on Chinese privilege is very important.
Because it exists.
It exists, and you actually recognize the fact that certain groups are created unequal, right? There's a majority-minority difference. So going back to sustainable social harmony, hash.peace wants to kind of continue such good efforts, but with the focus that whatever we do, it must contribute to Singapore's social harmony and it must benefit everyone. It cannot leave anyone behind. And the sustainability part in particular, we must include future generations. So that's why actually the EXCO, majority of us are youth leaders.
Okay, so now we'll be eating satay, and you have a very interesting satay story to share with us.
Yeah, so I think everyone knows that satay is a very much an integral part of Malay cuisine. But usually when I makan satay with my friends, I always like to share this fun fact. So our very first president, President Yusof Ishak, he was a major fan of satay, to the point that sometimes while he's sitting at the istana and he's free, right, he'll ask his bodyguard, who was Hassan Nadan at that time, I want to go makan satay at Geylang. And Hassan Nadan will be like, wait, can, but I need to prepare your security detail and everything, right? But before Nadan could even finish what he wanted to say, our president will already be out the door and he's already like going towards Geylang. Hassan Nadan will just basically follow along, and the both of them will just be eating satay by the roadside. And then once they're done, then the rest of the security detail will come and pick them up.
I feel mildly bad for security detail. Like, they must have been like in their office chilling, or I don't know, I guess they'll be guarding the door, right? Then afterwards, someone will be like, cold satay, and everyone's just like, we're gonna go grab all the cars, we have to chase him. Like,
I'm pretty sure our president probably knows like quite a lot of the residents at Geylang at that time, because he's a Malay himself and whatnot. Maybe he knows the Malay store uncle. I don't know.
I wish I could have a satay store recognized by the press. Sorry, you're dropping out of university to go open a satay store.
The satay is really nice.
So, regarding like microaggressions, so you mentioned humor just now. Like, what do you think are some of the more common microaggressions in Singapore?
Common microaggressions?
Yeah.
So,
things we should avoid.
Right. So I'm pretty sure that for us amongst our close friends, sometimes we'll make comments related to playing off certain racial stereotypes. Maybe commenting on their skin color, or maybe a certain practice that a certain individual from a certain race does. And that's a form of microaggression. Even though it's said in jest and among friends, the hurt can still be felt. And even though the other person is laughing, they can still feel that their ego has been bruised, or they might even be wondering, hey, this is my close friend, why would he say such a thing? But of course, because you don't want to make the situation awkward, they won't call you out at that very moment, right? They might approach you later, but that's not always the case. I'm not saying that we should completely drop making such jokes, because actually that's one way where you can practice racial harmony, where you are so united to the point that, you know, using this kind of jokes is actually a form of friendship building.
Like endearment rather than like disrespect.
Correct. But of course, there are certain jokes that are very out of bounds. Personally, for me, comments related to skin color, it's something that you can't really change. The person is born with it. Why are you making a joke over my own birth, right? How is that even acceptable? But other things like, let's say, okay, this is my own personal take. Other people might not be okay with it. But whenever I'm late for events and my friends say, Malay timing again are you? I'll just laugh it off. Because I am pretty bad at being on to events on time. And that it is a stereotype of my community, but I take it as my friend is just making a joke and be like, hey bro, why you late again? Kind of thing, right? I'm pretty sure for other Malays it won't be acceptable, and that's completely fine. I think this kind of microaggressions, the difficulty about it is very tailored to the individual.
Right. Because it's micro, so it's up to the personal experience of each person. Like if you are hurt by it, then obviously you should be like, preferably if you're comfortable enough with them, you can tell them to stop. But sometimes it's very hard to get to a place like that.
Everyone has different boundaries, and we have to be aware of that, and we have to respect that.
Okay, so now we will be trying goreng pisang, right? Yes. This is my first time eating it, so I'm not actually sure like what to expect. Yeah. Okay. Is it weird?
No. So goreng pisang is basically, in English you will probably call it banana fritters, but it's basically you take the banana, you put it in a bit of flour, basically, and then you just deep fry it. But it's your first time?
Yeah.
How is it?
I'm very confused.
Okay.
Like, it's sweet, so I didn't expect that, because normally fried food is savory. Like, you know how sometimes fried ice cream is confusing? Yeah.
Fried ice cream. Okay. Yeah. It's okay. I mean, you eat things that you're familiar with. I think everybody does that. You just Singaporeans, you just go with whatever you're comfortable with or you're very familiar with makaning. But I mean, that's a very interesting point, because over at hash.peace, whenever we go on like cultural exchanges or cultural trips, or even when we go makan, right, we introduce people to different foods from our respective cuisines. It's an opportunity for us to introduce to other people from other communities our culture. And it's always fun to see people try out new food and their face like lightens up and they're like, oh my god, this is really good, why have I never eaten this before? Right? I think it's a very typical Asian thing. You share food with other people, they're very happy, you're also happy. You happy, I'm happy, we're all happy, right?
It's food is a love language.
Correct. And sometimes through the various food items, you can share a bit about the cultural history. But I just noticed that all the races in Singapore like to deep fry food. For the Malays, we have goreng pisang, and we have a lot of other things. My other favorite deep fried Malay dish is actually cempedak goreng. So cempedak is jackfruit.
They fry jackfruit?
And it's, okay, not the whole jackfruit, but they will take out the innards of the fruit. I don't know what you want to call it.
Why do you call it the innards of the fruit?
I don't know what the proper term is. They'll cover it in a similar flour, and then they will deep fry it as well. And then for the Chinese, you have youtiao, like you mentioned, and probably other deep fried stuff that I can't remember off the top of my head. And for the Indians, they have things like vadai. You know, when you go to Pasar Malam, they have that vadai and the prawn, they'll deep fry it. So it's really nice, it's really good.
Everything is deep fried. It's probably good.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
I'm pretty sure maybe because when all the immigrants came to Singapore, it was a very quick and easy way to make food and to just fill yourself up, and then you go off and do whatever labor or job.
Have you had fried mac and cheese before?
What?
Fried mac and cheese. Have you had fried mac and cheese before?
No.
It's good.
Okay.
Yeah, then no, there's this other thing, like other than frying food, right? Other things that all the cultures kind of share is meat on a stick. Think about it, meat on a stick. Like it's in almost every culture. You know what else is also in every culture? Dumplings.
Some form of dumplings. Correct?
Yeah, it always be like meat with vegetables and then inside a flour casing. Like it's everywhere. Fun fact.
Okay. You wanna go to the next question?
Yeah.
We talk way too much about food, man.
Put that on the blooper section. Okay, so now it's time for our last food of the day. So we have nasi lemak here.
Do you know what are the components of a nasi lemak dish?
Visually or intuitively?
I mean, are you familiar with?
No, but I can list what I'm seeing. Chicken wing, cucumber, chili, ikan bilis, peanuts, rice, egg. Right?
Yeah,
Right?
that's more or less it. So
Yes.
those are the very basic stuff. If you're poor and you can't afford, sometimes they will drop the ikan bilis because some people don't like it, or maybe only one chicken wing. The fact that we are getting two, whoever bought this, a lot
Yes,
of
they were
money,
treating us today.
right? Or the opposite, not the opposite. The alternative is that other than fried chicken wing, you can have fried ikan instead, so fried fish.
Oh.
And the otah is usually not a part of nasi lemak. It's like an added
We are
on.
being treated well today.
We are treated very well today.
It's the director's money.
Yes. So let's dig in.
So how do you think youth today can contribute towards social harmony in Singapore?
Okay. So there are actually various ways in which youth can contribute to social harmony in Singapore. Just by joining in the conversation, even if you're observing, as an observer, you're not really participating, that's fine.
Really?
Because you are getting educated about the various issues in Singapore, or even if you just want to learn more about other races' culture and learn more about their celebrations or what they do and celebrate and commemorate, or what their rituals and practices are, that's fine too. The better you can understand another community, it already contributes to harmony in your own small individual way. There are plenty of youths I know now that the Gen Zers who are very savvy with social media. They will call out certain prejudicial things or racist incidents on social media, and I would say that that's actually a good thing. Some people might say that, oh, that's too cancel culture, or that's too negative, or no action talk only. The way I see it is, this is how the generation of today are showing their care and concern and are getting involved and actually doing something about it. And usually what I've noticed is for those that every day on social media, they will direct the viewer to resources where they can learn more, or where they can actually support organizations and initiatives, right? So the second part about supporting initiatives, that's not happening as much in Singapore. Most people will just direct to sources for you to learn more, but I would like to see our youth kind of direct more links to how you can support the organizations here that we have in Singapore, support local. And I think the last way that any youth can be involved in social harmony is to actually join the organizations and actually help out as a youth volunteer, or maybe as a youth leader, to help facilitate the conversation, or to even organize certain events in your own respective places, like in your school, in your group of friends, or even in your community service group that you might be a part of. You can always think about joining hash.peace. We are very open to, we are actively recruiting members the whole year round, and regardless of how old you are, whether you're like 21, you're 16, or you're as old as 30, we welcome you in. So by joining as a member, you get access to our events, you get access to our Hashing with Harman sessions, you can meet Fahima, you can meet the rest of the team, we can Makan together, talk about various things, and who knows, maybe we can inspire you to initiate something on your own where you can lead with a team, with the team by your side, and you can actually see the impact of your actions sort of like take fruit. Yeah.
Right. Do they just, click a link in the form, or?
So you just go to hash.peace.com and you will see our website. Or I think most youths, you just go on Instagram and just type in hash.peace. You follow our Instagram page. There's a link tree in the bio that you can follow up and find more details about us. Or if, I don't know whether the editors want to include my Instagram in, you can also contact me directly if you're so interested to join in and to ask more details.
Come to him for queries.
Yeah, you can just drop me a DM, slide in there, and I will respond whenever I can.
Welcome to the rapid fire round. So now we will be asking Didi a quick round of questions, and he will try to aim and answer all these questions in less than 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Sure.
You can do it.
It's a bit fast.
Question 1. Biggest problem causing social and racial disunity in Singapore?
Lack of genuine conversations where we talk over one another and we don't listen to the other party sincerely.
Right. What do you love most about hash.peace?
The fact that we are given space and autonomy to kind of pursue whatever initiatives we would like to see, and there's basically the sense of ownership in whatever we do.
Okay. Now, what do you dislike about hash.peace?
The fact that currently the society is still very small, we need more members so that we have more manpower to do whatever we want to do in terms of initiatives, and that we can reach to more people.
You hear that? It's time for you to join. Please. Okay, so if you had 3 free wishes, what would you wish for hash.peace?
More money,
Yeah.
because we need, at the end of the day, the world revolves around money to do whatever you want to do, to fund the initiatives. We would like more people in the society, as I mentioned earlier, so that we can do more things and reach out to more people. And actually the last one would be more outreach. And I mean that whatever initiatives that we put out there, more eyeballs are looking at what we do. And hopefully from there, even if they don't participate in our events in future, they at least get to learn something and they get to be more aware about these issues.
Right. So name hash.peace's greatest enemy.
I would have to say that the greatest enemy is actually ourselves, not the organization, but us as individuals, because we are on the forefront of combating preconceived notions and prejudices, right? And sometimes when you are in the interfaith scene or when you're in that bubble, you actually end up being in a closed-off community and you keep seeing the same people, keep saying the same thing. You might end up falling into the trap of being in a
Echo chamber.
Echo chamber, that's the phrase. So we always need to look at the mirror, bring new people into the scene so that we are able to push ourselves beyond what we think is
So you hear
right.
more voices and make sure that everyone is comfortable.
Correct.
Okay, that's all for today. We're gonna continue eating, but that's all for you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye!